All right, so we are back, and in the previous video, we were working inside of our event graph, and we set up the logic to play our montage. So we have our custom event, which plays our montage. We can also check and see if we are still punching. If we are not, we can jump from our current punch to the correct ending sequence. So our setup for our montage is almost complete. The final thing that we need to do actually is inside the anim graph. So inside the character animation blueprint, again, if you don't have it open, just hop to the content browser, character, and the character anim BP. And on the graph tab inside persona, hop over to the anim graph. Now here is our locomotion state machine, which has all of our states in it, our auto walk run, jump start, etc. What we need to do inside of our animate graph though is add our punching montage kind of as a interceptor between we get to our final pose here. So what we want to do is right click in the graph and we're going to search for what is there now? We want to add a slot. So search for slot, and it's going to have an option for slot, default slot. Go ahead and select that. And you can see it gives us two poses here. So let's connect our locomotion to our source here, and then connect the out pose to our result. Now, what we need to do, let's click on our slot. If you look down in the details panel down here, there's a slot name section. So go ahead and click the drop down for that, and you should see our default group upper body that we set. So go ahead and change it to that. So now what happens is whenever this upper body slot is called, it's going to play this on top of our current pose from our locomotion before going to the final animation pose. So we can test this really quickly. Let's compile and let's save. And then let's play in the editor. Let's not play in a mobile preview. I'm actually going to change this back to, let's change it to a new editor window. I'm going to change it to that. So I'm going to select a new editor window to play. It's going to pop it off screen actually. Let me bring that in to focus here. Now what happens is if we punch, look what our character does. He starts punching and he kind of pops up and down and does all kinds of funky stuff there. Also, if we move, you can kind of see he's running around and he stops moving, his legs. So there's all kinds of funky stuff happening. But our punching montage is essentially working. We can press it once or we can hold it down. But we need to do a little bit more adjustment to get it the way that we expect it to work. So I'm going to escape and go back to our anim graph here. What we need to do is, let's actually move this over just a little bit to create us some more room. And what we're going to do, let's disconnect our slot nodes here. So we're going to right click on this pin and break link. Right click on this pin and break link. We need to right click in the graph and search for a blend per bone. So blend per bone. So you're going to get the layered blend per bone option. So go ahead and select that. And you can see it gives us two poses here that we can blend between. And I'm going to blend those into a final output pose. So the output pose is pretty simple. We can connect that right to our result here, like so. But what we need to do now is, I don't want to say it's tricky. It just requires a little bit of forethought on how you want to set this up here. We kind of need to get our current locomotion pose, whatever we are currently doing as our base pose, right? So whatever we're doing as our base pose, but we also need our upper body slot. We need a way for our upper body slot to receive a source input as well. And we currently cannot select our locomotion, our output pose, to our source. If you try to do that, it removes the base pose. So we can only have one plugged in at a time. So what's the way around this? What we can do, if we drag off of our locomotion state machine here, and we release, and we search for cache, it's going to give us the option to create a new save cached pose. So go ahead and select that, new save cached pose. It's going to give us a funky name. So I'm going to select that node and rename that down in the details panel here. Now we're just going to call this the locomotion cache, like so. Now if we connect our locomotion state machine, our pose from our locomotion, into this cache pose like so, what we can do is right click again inside the graph and search for that locomotion cache. So locomotion cache. You see we have the option to use cache pose locomotion cache. So go ahead and select that. And the good thing is now we can do this twice. We can right click again and use locomotion cache. So let's use cache pose here. Now we have two of them that we can use for our layered blend per bone. So let's grab our locomotion cache and plug that into the base pose. And then let's also grab the locomotion cache here and plug it into our slot. Now we're almost done. There's one more thing that we need to do. On our layered blend per bone node, we need to specify which bone we want to start this blend at. So what we're doing essentially is we're taking our locomotion, getting that pose, and blending it with another pose that can use our slot here. But at what bone do we want to start doing that? So to do that, with our node selected here, inside the details panel, if we go down to layer setup, under config, and under element 0, we can click the plus sign next to the branch filters here. So click the plus sign, and it's going to give us the option to name the bone that we want to start our blend at. Now if we hop all the way up here to the left inside of our viewport, there's an option under show where we can show the bone names. Let's go ahead and check that. And if we zoom in, there's all kinds of stuff on screen here, but if we zoom in, we can specify the bone name that we want to start this blend at. So as we mentioned, we only want this to occur on our upper body, our slot, our punching animation sequence. So anything above the spine essentially is where we want our animation to be played. So on our layered blend per bone node, if we select it again, and our bone name, we're going to use spine _ 1, 0, 1. So make sure that you get the exact naming convention. It has to be the exact same. So we're going to call it spine _ 01. Now there's an option for blend depth. I'm not going to get into this too much. It kind of adjusts the way that it blends essentially, but we can leave it at 0 for our purposes. I think that's fine. Let's actually compile and test this. I think we should be good to go now. So let's compile and let's save. And then let's test this in the editor. Let's go ahead and play. So we have the option to punch now. Looks a lot better. Character's not dipping down anymore. It's only playing above our spine. Notice that our legs are still playing our idle motion. So that means we can run around and punch at the same time. We can also jump as well and punch. Because our blend is taking into account our locomotion pose as well as our montage. So we are set. I think we are done here. We can actually pause. In the next video, just for fun, we're going to add some collision around our hands so that we can affect the world. Now, disclaimer on this is probably not the ideal way to do it, but it's one way that you could do it. So we'll set that up really quickly to show you how to do that. So that's going to wrap this video. We will see you in the next video where we will set up the collision so that we can start punching things. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you then.